Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Book Bar Sip and Chat. I got a lot more faces today, so you guys know that today is going to be an exceptional episode today of the Sip and Chat. So, why do I have all these faces here today? So, if you did not know, then today starts Black Children's Book Week. And what better way to start Black Children's Book Week is to have some of Legacy's affiliates with Dominique and some of their children's authors with Gerald, Amanda, and Jay Asmara. So let's welcome them to the Sip and Chat. Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey.
Yes. So you've probably seen some of these faces on the Sip and Chat before. We had Gerald here a couple of months ago, and he was talking with us about his book, Alabama Sunrise, and he decided to come back with us because he has written a tween teens book. I kind of put him in both categories, and we love his books here at Legacy Book Bar. So, of course, we had to bring him back. Amanda will be right back. But before we go with Amanda, because I'm actually going to hit her last, I want to introduce one of our newest authors to Legacy Book Bar. Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, living a dream, you know. Being fabulous, living a dream.
Trust me, I understand. I live in Iowa, so I'm in here loving life. Not really.
Never heard anyone say, I live in Iowa. That is never a state.
Never.
Ever
I live in Iowa says no one.
He says no one. No, not at all.
Yes, but I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm just excited. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more with Jay. We got some great things coming up the works with her. We're going to talk to our newest affiliate with Legacy Book Bar. Hey, Dominique.
Had to find the unmute button. How are you?
Hey, darling, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And then, of course, I had to bring back our residents, craziness, hostess with the mostest, BFF, sister from another mister, and I could put a whole bunch of other acronyms on it. Had to bring back Amanda Chambers. Hey, girlie, how are you?
Great, now that I put my groceries away.
Only she will get groceries delivered at the start of the podcast, but it's okay. So, for people who have not seen an episode of Legacy Book Bar Sip and Chat, Clutches Pearls, how after this, how have they not seen an episode of the Sip and Chat? I actually want you guys to do a little introduction without me doing the introduction on why we're here. So I'm going to start with Domi this time. Domi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. My name is Dominique Burgess. I am the CEO of Verbella LLC, an education organization. We have an online learning academy for homeschooling families where we provide academic instruction and homeschooling instruction to pre-K all the way to 8th graders. Our program is specifically designed for homeschoolers to provide them with the flexibility that homeschooling brings, along with the academic touch that they will get in a structured environment. So we provide pretty much classes in Spanish, sign language, math, English. We have a play-based preschool, kindergarten prep, all that good stuff. In addition to that, we provide tutoring services to traditional schooling families. We have a lot of educational resources on our website as well. I've been an educator for 13 years. I've been a teacher, school leader, and all that good stuff. But I decided to leave my position during the pandemic to be able to support more homeschooling families. So
which I'm pretty sure that was so needed in this crazy COVID world of homeschooling, virtual. I know if I was in a different situation, I definitely would have my kid homeschooled. I don't like being home that much. That's a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if my nerves can take that at all. Well, welcome. I can't wait to hear more about you in a little bit. We're going
Thank
to
you.
move on over to Jay. Tell us about yourself, my dear.
Well, I'm author Jay Asmara. I've been writing now since 2014. We're here talking to discuss my children's book, Michaela and Friends. But in addition to that, I have several adult reads that range from drama, um, action, suspense. So, oh, yes. So, like I said, in addition to Michaela and Friends, I also have several adult books. I'm a Army veteran. I'm a mother of. I love how you do that. I'm a mother of four. I live in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm just really excited to be here to talk about Michaela and Friends and the whole idea behind it. Because I love. We have to protect the babies, and this book is really about just their imagination and homing in on it and encouraging it. So I'm just really excited to talk about it. And again, Manina, thank you for having me. And yes, that's me in a nutshell. Tons of fun. Ex Manina.
Yes. Well, welcome aboard. And again, welcome to the Legacy BookBar family. We're going to do some great things. Yay. Hey, Gerald. Hey, my love. Back to you. What's been going on since the last time we spoke?
Oh, well, first of all, you got me going behind these incredible stories. I'm like, whoa, like, okay then. But I'm a Southern guy, originally from Alabama, just moved to Mississippi not too long ago. I'm a career counselor right now. But besides that, I'm a writer at heart. Been wanting to be a writer since the second grade. I write drama, mostly drama, some comedy within it. I come up with a word called dramedy because it's going to be drama. It's going to be something fun. The writer of Alabama Sunrise and the book that we're going to talk about today, my children's book, because I could deny the child in me, wanted to be a writer, The Eye to My Storms. I just released another book, which will be a sequel called A Dream Deferred, which was inspired by Langston Hughes. And currently I'm writing Maple and Honey, and I'm also writing my first spiritual not really a spiritual book, kind of like a mystery novel. So I'm excited about that, called The Spirit of Marima. So that's just a little bit about me. So.
Okay. As the bookstore owner, it's like yes, but as the reader, because I read Alabama Sunrise, I'm like yes. It's like yes. We're actually going to talk a little bit about Alabama Sunrise later on. Amanda, welcome back, my dear. I feel like I'm about to just make you a co-host because I feel like you wear so many hats. You tend to be here a lot with me.
The world's not ready for that, my dear. For us to co-host anything, it would be it would mess up the time-space continuum, is what it would. So, who am I? I am Amanda Chambers. I am Best Humans with Manina. Manina carries almost all of my books except for the two that are not in print, that are only ebooks. I write across genres, like seriously across genres. I have 3 best-selling erotic romances. There's one of them. I have I wrote my thesis on Black communities and a sociological concept, a total institution, in Toni Morrison's Black communities, and that is in print. Well, actually, that's one of the online books. It's not in print, but it is available online. I wrote, this is my newest, Sis Let Go of Less, which is an affirmation journal for Black women. And then I wrote this book with my personal tiny human, who is, that's her right there. She looks a little different now that Manina has it.
I came prepared today.
And I wrote that book with her a couple of years ago based off of a conversation that we had. And she is the main character because it's a conversation we had, but also I wanted the world to know that there are Black homeschooled children. When you, Megan, when you hear people say my kid is homeschooled, typically you think that they're either not Black or devoutly religious or some kind of polygamous or something like that. And we're not. We're just regular old Black people. My husband is a communications manager and in a fraternity. I am a former college professor, and I might know Dominique from the sorority that we're in.
That's the shade.
I might know her. She might be, my sister. But so we're just regular old folks, and so I want the world to know that I don't like the stereotype that comes with homeschooling, because I think that keeps a lot of people, especially Black people, from homeschooling because they think I'm gonna be viewed this way or people are gonna think I'm that way. And that's not the case. And, there are times when our children can benefit from being homeschooled if that is an option, and especially in a school system that is not always set up for us and ours. Sure. And so that it was kind of twofold, and this is going to be developed into a series called Brooke's Homeschool Adventures. So, and of course, with her being the main character. Can't think of anything else right now. I think that's it. Oh, I own Divine Legacy Publishing.
That was the big part. I thought we would have led with that one, but Okay.
I forget.
So I actually posted in the chat, we have some of the best here tonight. It's not that often I come across male authors, so when I do find them, I tend to hold on to them very tightly, because in the literature world, you always see female names. And for Black Children's Week, I want people, when they share this broadcast or they go on YouTube and they come across it, I want them to see that it's cool if you're a guy to write that good story, to write that children's book, to write the drum comedy or the rom-com. I want them to know that it's still cool to be different, but your different is someone else's normal, and I want them to see that it's okay to be that way. Jay, you're actually in the military and you still have time to write, so I want them to be, especially my girls, to be able to see that I can strap on the vest, I can go out there, and then I can still get cute with it when I need to. I'm going to bang out these fire stories. And it's okay to wear the hats that you choose to wear. With Dominique, I just think it is so cool. Like you said, and my mom, like, she runs an entire school. Like, who can say you run a school? Where they do that at? And I just think that is so, like, just to have that resource and that connection. Like I said, a lot of us parents are still dealing with the effects of COVID and virtual, not virtual. And, a lot of kids didn't have the best resources when it came to virtual learning. So hopefully when they watch tonight, they'll hear what you have to say, and hopefully that will make them or have them feel like it's okay and go to you and say, hey, we need more resources because we are lost here. And then Amanda, when I met her, now Amanda and I should have been BFFs since probably kindergarten.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that we grew up both in Baltimore. She left when she was a teenager, and we met 15, 20 years later in a Facebook group, just by me posting, hey, I want someone to fill out the survey for me. And she's like, yeah, I'll fill it out for you. And, I got a whole publishing company. Wait, what?
She makes me sound so nice. It's so sweet.
Wait, what do you mean? Well, I mean, that first meet you were. After that, I was like, oh, okay.
Does
Her
anybody
crazy
else
meet
see
my
that
crazy.
attack that just happened? That was an
No,
attack.
it was like her crazy meet my crazy, and it's not that often that I can have somebody that can meet my crazy. It's great.
It's
Like-
crazy that we did not grow up friends. We're gonna blame that on my mama sneaking me off into county school when I was supposed to go to city school.
Right. For sure. And then, like I said, we have so much in common. And she was like, no, but I have a publishing company. And it was just this wealth of knowledge. And like, who can say that? And because you publish under the self-publishing umbrella, that whole stigma alone on, oh my God, you self-publish? That's a stigma all by itself. And
Yes.
then learning that, oh, wait, so it's okay that I self-publish? Yes. And then noting, if anyone's paying attention, some of the bigger name authors that publish with Random House, with Penguin, are now taking their series away and now self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder why? I've been paying attention. I've been seeing it on Twitter.
Paying attention, and I've been buying. One of the biggest names right now that has done it is Brenda Jackson, and she is now releasing books under her own umbrella.
Company.
Brenda Jackson Presents, and it's her.
Yep.
After years and years and years. So the new wave,
I'm just
elated because it's time.
Yes, I feel like The Rock when it's like, finally, y'all are getting your senses back.
Yep.
So I'm just thankful. So to have you guys here in the same bucket, but in different buckets, and giving us all of this wealth of information, this is the best panel to have. So let's get into our whys. Actually, I'm gonna end this part with Dominque, because I actually want to focus on the educational piece, on what does she hear and see from the school aspects on how our children are doing with reading and comprehension skills. I'm going to end that part with her. Jay, you're new here with us. Let's go to you. Tell us your why on the children's book.
So in society right now, if you notice, there's so much that the children that are accessible to them, the internet, it's just so much, and I feel like it takes away the children's innocence. I remember when I was like 12 or 13, I think I was still playing with doll babies. There's no, you got these 12 and 13-year-olds now. Unfortunately, they're getting to things that was pretty much unheard of when we were growing up. So my purpose for doing Michaela and Friends, and here it is, the whole title is Michaela and Friends and the Key to Imagination City. So I wanted to home in on the innocence of our children and the imagination that they have. He's 13 years old now, but my 13-year-old Jaden, he had the wildest imagination. No lie, this kid every day was a different person. I would just wait for him to come in the room to see, okay, who is he today? He would get every bit of piece of, he would have, if my hat is laying there, or his brothers or his sister, whatever, he's putting it together, and he's like, oh, I'm an inspector today. Oh, I'm this. And I encouraged that because I saw the beauty in this, in the innocence of that imagination. So I wanted to home in on that. And that's where the story came from. It's this little girl who has a very wild imagination. And I don't know if I don't know the age group here, but do you remember Dragon Tales?
Yes.
Yes.
The colorful, just the excitement that we had when we watched that. That was my vision when I went into this. So this young lady finds this city. And of course it's her imagination, but I just wanted these beautiful colors, and there was one scene in the book where she opens a door in her grandmother's attic and she's underwater. Now she's swimming and she sees the fish. Like, I wanted that colorful imagination to just pop, and for these kids to be like, wow, it's okay to have these outlandish visions or dreams or whatever. Hell, look at us. We're authors. That's nothing but imagination. You sit in a room with me longer than 30 minutes, and you're going to either be like, oh my God, I love her, or oh, she's nuts. Either or, tomato, tomato.
Combination of both.
You know what I'm saying? But I just really see the beauty in that. And like I said, it's really the innocence in protecting it. And with this book, I've seen kids from 2, of course, you got to read it to them, all the way up to 10 who enjoy it. And like I said, I went through the whole Dragon Tales, and I wanted every page to be colorful and inviting. But I guess we'll go into the pages later. But that was my why, just really wanting to home in and focus on the innocence and the beauty of children and their imagination. So.
Awesome. Okay. I think it is inspiring. I first met Jay when she found my flyer from another legacy author, and she came to the second annual Legacy BookBar Book Summit. And she came and she had this whole table and she had all these books. And I was like, hey, but you have babies too. Wait, what is this? And I was so excited. And when I tell you, her book, for the children's book anyway, is so, the colors are so vibrant. They literally just jump off the pages. And I was like, when these parents or these school teachers see this book, they are going to absolutely love it, because you can see yourself jumping into the pages as the story goes on. So I'm really excited for this book and what it will do here. And again, we see if I can show a couple of the pages. Here we go. Can we see that? Is that a good one? Can you see that? Ooh.
Nice.
So that's just one of the pages. Jay, show a couple of the pages in your story if you can.
This is the underwater one that I love.
Ooh, that is beautiful.
And as you can tell, like I said, I wanted it to be colorful. So the pages there's no white pages in here. One of my readings, this is one of my favorite. I did a reading in my hometown for a kindergarten class. Mm-hmm. And when I tell you, for these 4 and 5-year-olds, or maybe 5 and 6, however old, to sit there, and they sat there and they were engulfed in my story. And that was one of like the proudest moments of my writing career, because I don't know how many have little kids. I have a 3-year-old. And if you can get him to sit down and listen to a story, they were actually engaged, they were pointing at the pictures, they were asking questions. And that right there, if I didn't sell but one book ever, that moment was it, because those little children were in it. So, and that's what we love. Yes. Yes.
We love that. Yes.
And kids are honest. If they didn't like it, they'd be like, that's why you did that. Kids will hurt your heart. You be like, oh my God, this is my best work. And they're like, I don't like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm sorry.
They're the most honest little terrorists you ever heard. But you love them.
So cute. But he'd be like, Mommy, I don't like that. Sir, you just like this 5 minutes. I don't like it anymore. Oh, okay, I'm not gonna do this with you. So, like I said, we have to protect that, because guess what? Happy children turn into happy teenagers, happy young adults, and happy adults. Otherwise, we have a lot of these people that we encounter who are lacking some things. Mm-hmm. So we got to protect our babies.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Gerald, what about your why?
My why. Let's see. My why started elementary school, I would say. I remember those book fairs. I always wanted to be this writer, but I just never saw a black boy on the cover. I've always saw other races, and I saw animals before I saw, a black boy on the cover. But one day I ran into this book called Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Curtis. And I still have that book back home in Alabama today. And that is my prized possession because that would inspire me to write the book that I have now, The Eye to My Storm, because I saw the representation really did matter. I saw that it's possible, for lives to be changed. And I did it also because I wanted one day for a young Black boy to pick up my book and have the same feeling that I did. And that they matter. And I purposely did something because with this story, not only he's a Black boy, but he does things that a Black boy typically does not do. And I just wondered, how many Black children today, you already been separated, but now you're separated by sexism. You're separated by what you're not supposed to do. You're separated by this, and you feel the pressure of life, just always trying to tear you down. So I just think about how many Black boys who don't necessarily play sports, who deny themselves from being great performers, who deny themselves of being great dancers, who deny themselves of being great chess players or whatever that it may be. And so that's why I wrote the story. And that's basically my why. I wanted to represent people who don't get represented. And it wasn't about being popular. It was just about spreading the message. It's about changing how people feel about certain things, about people doing certain things. Like, don't deny yourself because you don't think that is cool. I guess we'll get into it later, but the character denied himself at first. But that everything that he found out that he thought he was going to be teased about really gave him freedom. Really gave him freedom to finally live his life. So that is my why.
A powerful story, and I know we cannot wait to actually do that story when we do Young Adult Month, and we'll do your book then for that one. So people that don't know, they don't know me rather. I am a nerd. And I am totally okay with that. Always have been. But some things you just kind of keep to yourself because it's in that safe bubble. So it wasn't until I got older and people really realized, like, wait, you watch sports, you read books. How do you watch wrestling and watch NASCAR? Like, where did you come from? And I'm like, because if I would have told y'all in school that I wasn't out every night, I was home reading in my room, I'm going to the mall on Saturday, was able to, get a couple of books on the weekends and come home and read them, you would have laughed at me. And I kept that information to myself because who feels like fighting every week because y'all want to laugh because I went to the bookstore? I didn't want to be like Amanda fighting every day.
My life.
I didn't want to do that. But I say that to piggyback off of Gerald, that it's okay to be you. Like, don't let anyone dim your potential greatness, especially with our baby. So as parents, as teachers, as just, overall good people, we have to make sure that we are, when we're encountering these kids, to let them know that it's okay to be us. It's okay to be different and embrace that differences about you. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the word I was looking for, but I'm gonna go with that one for now. Amanda, tell us a little bit about your why.
My why is twofold. So the first part, of course, is my tiny human. My daughter is such a carefree child, like Jay said about letting them be children, letting them play with their imagination and all of that. I was very cautious of making sure that she got to do that. A lot of folks in our generation didn't get to do that for different reasons. And so when I got pregnant, I told my husband, I was like, this kid is going to be a kid. Like, she's going to run and do cartwheels. She doesn't like cartwheels, but the concept was there. But just be a kid, use her imagination. I was the same exact as Menina, except I didn't keep it to myself. And Menina predicted with her words just now exactly what happened to me. I got teased. got picked on. I got into a lot of fights. The only difference between me and the average nerd was I grew up with an uncle that was a professional boxer. So those fights didn't quite turn out the way that it's going to turn out. But then it turned into, well, who can beat her? And that happened, you know, who's going to be the one to finally take her down? It was no one. No one took me down. But that was the world that I lived in. And it was so frustrating because it was like, I just want to read my book. Like, leave me alone. Like, folks are skipping school to go to the mall and stuff. I was skipping school to sit outside and read. Like, just leave me alone. Let me be a kid. Let me be to myself. And I wanted to make sure that that would happen for her. So when she would ask me questions, I would tell her, you know, we homeschooled her. And one day she was just sitting there and she said, well, what's an occupation? She was watching PBS Kids and she was like, what's an occupation? That's what they just said this person has here. And she points to TV. And I said, well, it's occupation, basically the same thing as a job, you know. And then she looked at me and she said, what jobs can girls do? And I was honestly shocked at her saying that, because this girl is surrounded by female excellence. It's ridiculous. Her aunt, my best friend, just made women's history by being part of the first all-female group to call the CIAA games. She works for ESPN. She was one of the first female ESPN podcast producers. Like, that's the type of woman that this child has been exposed to since birth. And you just really turned around and asked me, what jobs can girls do? What? And so, of course, we had that conversation. And then once we had that conversation, it occurred to me that if this girl is surrounded by that much excellence and she asked this question, society is doing a doozy on our little girls. And that was my twofold. That was the second part. I needed to create this book to make sure that other little girls have the opportunity to see it and understand that they can do anything that they want to do. And I made sure, I literally found, ironically, I opened the page right to the auntie that I was talking about. That is Tarika Foster Brasby. And that's her doing the podcast producing. And so I wanted to make sure that they were bright pictures, but they were realistic. And what I did was I just went through when I talked to my daughter about it, and I told her, you know, this auntie does this auntie does that, this auntie does this. And I made sure that I know, you know, that's my grad school mentor. She's obviously an AKA. And I made sure to include those in there as well. That's my line sister. She's a nurse. And obviously those are our colors. And, you know, and just all aspects of being this amazing woman that you can be. You can do anything you want. And I wanted to make sure that all little girls knew that. I even took it back in time and talked about, you know, women back in the day from our family who were the first to do things. So I went all the way back to the 20s. And so, you know, it was just very important to me. And that was my why, you know, to let them know, to let little girls know you can do anything. And that's why the last page of the book before my little thank you page is important, because now you see Brooke with the thought bubble. Think, Lord, where's my finger going? I keep forgetting that it's the opposite. But, you know, think about all of the different occupations that I told her about, and, you know, what she can do, which is anything. And it was just really important. And I wanted to make sure that she got to see brown faces doing them. You know, representation matters. I'm probably, oh dear, I'm probably the oldest one on this call or on this interview. And I remember there being no books, none, zero, zilch, none. And I was the huge, when those book fairs came, the Scholastic books and stuff like that, I would still get the books because I was a book nerd, but there were no books that looked like me, that involved anyone like me. I remember when they brought Jessie on the Babysitters Club, I was beyond myself because, oh my gosh, she's Black. And so, you know, but I would always read the books and imagine them as Black characters. And I don't want that to be a world that we live in anymore. And we have made great strides. There are Black books. I just got my daughter a book called Root Magic, which is she's 8, but she reads on probably a 5th grade level. She attends Dominique's online academy. So but you know, she's enjoying it. It's a chapter book, and it's talking about the, you know, culture of Gullah Geechee and root magic and hoodoo and stuff like that. And I'm so excited that a book like that even exists, because that wasn't a thing when I was a child, that you could explore what these elements of Black life are. You know, history started with slavery and, you know, all of this, and that's not her world anymore. So we've made strides, but I want her to be able to go into a bookstore and grab a book with characters that look like her, just as simple as anybody else. Andy, she's written in the book. I don't know if you want it. She takes notes.
No. Oh, somebody needs a notepad. Oh, Jesus.
She's writing this book, circling things that are important to her. I was like, that's my child.
Needs to do that.
But you know, so I really want that world to exist. And so I'm just trying to do my part to help make that world exist.
I love it. So now we're going to come on down to Dominique. Now, Dominique is our educator here, and I know she sees way more than we could possibly know. So from the educational standpoint, Dominique, tell us, how important are these Black books to our youth today?
Oh, they're very important. When everyone was speaking, I was just like thinking back to so many experiences that I've had in a traditional school setting. I've always been like the Black sheep, no matter what school I've worked in. And that's because I'm very vocal when it comes to educating Black and brown kids, specifically kids in low income communities. So I feel like I'm their voice because in so many different capacities, they don't have a voice. Depending on their home circumstances, they may not have a voice at home. So the school setting is like their space. That's the time for them to be themselves, for them to have advocates or be able to advocate for themselves. But specifically, when Gerald was speaking, I thought back to a specific time where I worked for a specific charter school, and they gave us this curriculum and was like, go and teach it. And the curriculum was about the presidents and the White House. And they wanted us to just focus on the White House and all these amazing presidents that lived in there and all the things that they did. And I was like, hold up. Do y'all even know who built the White House? And my teaching and learning coach at the time was like, yeah, but that's not in the curriculum. And I'm like, okay, well, we're about to supplement, and I'm going to put that in there because that's important for my kids to know. They need to know that people that look and sound like them built that house. And when I started like bringing these things up during our meetings and having these conversations, it started to open the eyes of more of my colleagues. And they were like, well, you know, we purchased these books, we purchased this curriculum. They don't have different books like this. And I'm like, it's fine. I'll buy it. I'll find it. So that's when I was introduced to Charles R. Smith and the books that he wrote. He wrote a book called Brick by Brick. And it goes through a positive, like very, very positive perspective of what we know slavery to be. And I'm saying slavery for a reason, but it shows Black people actually building the White House, the blood, sweat, tears, and everything that they put into building the White House. And I wanted my kids to see that. I wanted that to be the first introduction that they got to the White House before they learned about Benjamin Franklin and all these other things. And that next day, I had a parent come to me and she said, you know, he came home and he told me that slaves built the White House. And I was like, what you talking about? And he was like, Miss Burgess told me that. She was like, so can you tell me what you taught them? And then I found myself like right there in that morning during morning pickup, having a conversation with the parent and just engaging her and enlightening her on who built the White House and why that was important. And she said to me, she was like, wow, I learned something. Mind you, this is a mom who was in like her 40s at the time. So like it was a good opportunity for me to one, teach that to my kindergartners, but also to open up the eyes to the families. I think the I'm sorry. I get real emotional about this stuff because I'm passionate about it. But I
Go
think one
for
of
it.
the issues in our education system is that we try to focus on like closing this achievement gap and these learning gaps in Black and Brown communities when it comes to literacy, right? But we're
Mhm.
throwing materials and curriculums and engagement things at them and in front of them with kids that don't look like them, kids that don't sound like them. I remember I read what's that book? The Three Billy Goats Gruff to my kindergartners, and one of my kids was like, "A pasture? What's a pasture?" And I was like, you know what? You're right. Let's stop reading this. Let's do some research and figure out what a pasture is. These kids live in Albany projects in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. They've never seen a pasture before. They've
Mm.
never even been exposed to that type of vocabulary. So outside of me wanting to, yes, do my job and teach them what's in the curriculum, I had to also educate them about things that they probably would never come across before. So I think when you think about literature and you think about Black and Brown kids, specifically low income kids, you want to have rich literature in front of them, not only literature that they can relate to, but literature that they can learn from. I was okay with, introducing them to books about pastures and kids riding horses and all that because I wanted to expose them to a different type of world. When I taught here in Durham Public Schools in North Carolina, I had kids who never even stepped foot out of Durham before. They never even been to Raleigh or any other county or anything like that. So me just pulling up my background on my computer, which showed the Brooklyn Bridge, they were excited to see that. So there I was looking for different articles and journals and things like that for them to read and learn more. So I think for me, like I've always had a passion of reading and loving to read. And Amanda has always been getting on me about writing a book, but I'm nervous and I'm scared. But but my point is, like I think as educators, we teach so much from literature, but we don't think about the effect or reflection that it has on our kids. So I think it's just
Mm.
very important that we think about having the two folds, like exposing them to literature that's going to enlighten them and teach them about different perspectives, but also give them access to books for with children and families and words and even scenarios that they can actually relate to.
Love it. I love this is the best panel ever. I love it. I love it. So I felt like that was deep, and then I got emotional. So now I got to bring it back to the sweet and sassy on how we do it because that was a lot, but it was really, really good. And I really hope that people are watching, people are sharing to their pages because you never know what parent, what teen might just need to hear this to push them to write their story or to say, hey, I wrote this like late at night while I was looking at TikTok. Can someone take a look at this? You never know where they might be at that particular moment. And hopefully listening and watching to this podcast will steer them in the right direction. On a lighter note, though, let's talk about who remembers the first book they either read or saw where the person of color was on the cover of the book. I remember mine. I remember mine. I was 14, 15, between 14 and 15. And my mom brought home, God, it was, now see, I'm having a memory. It's between Frances Ray, Brenda Jackson, and Beverly Jenkins. I think she might have brought them home all at the same time. But I think the one cover that stood out the most to me was Beverly Jenkins' book, that was Indigo. When I tell you the models that they had on the cover, when I tell you they had beautiful dark chocolate, she was described as very ebony chocolate, and he was like Creole mocha kind of color. And just to see that on the cover after reading so many other books that we did not look like that on the cover. I remember being so excited to go look for more books like that. Now, again, this is early 90s because I'm only a year behind Amanda, so this had to be what, 92, 93? What? Somewhere in
I
there.
think Brenda Jackson's first book was 93 or 94.
Okay, so we about roundabout there. And it was so hard to find us. So, back then you don't realize how much time goes into an author writing the story. Now, as an adult, of course, working with you guys, of course, I know now. But back then, I'm like, I wish they hurry up. I want a new book. And I'm like, where's the book? Let's go. I'll start with you, Gerald. Do you remember your first book where you was like, oh, a Black author? Oh, Black characters. Where they at?
I think I was in the 4th grade. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. By Mildred Taylor, I believe. I want to get her name right. I believe her name was Mildred Taylor, where I saw 3 Black kids on like this porch, where I was introduced to like stories being told through eyes of Black children that's going through racism. And I think that impacted me today as far as like what I write now. I'm always trying to hit on that mark of just of racism in itself, and how does it affect Black people now, and how it continues to affect us. Because a lot of people, they don't get the story. Of course, we don't get the story in education. We don't get the right stories in the movies all the time. So it's just another way to just kind of slide that in there, and just to stay woke on the situation. So I remember reading that when I was in 4th grade. I'm like, wow. And I remember a scenario where the child in the story received the book, and it was excellent, all the in condition, all the way until it got to the Black, and then at the end it was poor, and it was ragged, and it was torn up, and she had to bring the book home. And I was like, wow. So this really, these children went through this as well. So I remember that being an impact in my life, as far as continuing to write, and how important it is to, because color is everywhere. And I just want them to recognize that, hey, you are a Black kid in society. This is the truth. This is how it's going to work out. But you can also change the narrative. You can change your narrative, by continuing to keep going and doing what you're doing, So I think that book impacted me the most to continue to write. And every book that I have in my mind now, I'm hitting the point of racism. I'm hitting the point of injustice in America. I am going to hit those points, and I'm going to slide in there every time from now on. And when every book that come across Legacy BookBar, yeah, it's going to be something in there, just to keep the story going, just to keep our voices alive. Even though these are fictional characters, these fictional characters are saving somebody's life. These fictional characters are being relatable every single day and every single moment of our lives. So I would stick with that one. Being in the 4th grade, however old you are in the 4th grade, to where I'm like literally emotional about what they was going through in that story.
Wow. Jay, what about you? You remember your first one?
I don't have these young memories. I think 18. I was dang near an adult before I saw a cover with a Black face on it. And I don't remember, and don't judge me now. So I don't remember my
No
first
judging
one.
here.
I don't, it was between Eric Jerome Dickey and a Zane book. That's why I said don't judge me, because,
Oh,
but
child, we've all read a good Zane book. We're not going to judge you.
hey, yeah, so I don't have any childhood memories of any Black characters, and that's why we're where we're at now, because that wasn't the norm. Um, because I know growing up, because even now, I remember when I put out my first book, and everyone was like, "Well, what kind of books are you writing? Are you writing like Zane books?" Because that's all we knew in our time. There wasn't this overabundance of Black authors. Not when I was growing up. So it was just Eric Jerome Dickey, Amar Tree, Zane. That was pretty much it. until
Mm-hmm.
later on.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I was exposed to. So I don't,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I don't have those memories. And like I said, that's why we're here. We're trying to change that narrative for the children that are
For sure.
coming up now.
For
So,
sure. And actually, we have a comment. My mom, she's here every week. We love her. Um,
hey,
she
Mama.
said, she said, I was well grown before I saw a cover with one of us. So, I had to get to the mall some kind of way, So, who, of course, is taking me, but my mom, who was, an avid reader. So, if I'm 14, 15, she's 40-ish, about, and that's when she saw her first person of color or first Black author.
Mhm.
um I always tell I always say, before we had our stuff, our books, our stores, we just read whatever we could get our hands on. We didn't, we could read the books, enjoy the stories. I know, like Amanda, she said she would envision the characters as Black, but it didn't take
Right.
away from the story. You would be surprised how some of us non-melanateds will not read a particular genre, or I was not even saying a particular genre, their favorite genre, because it's of a Black character or written by a Black author. And I'm like, but romance is romance. Sci-fi is,
Right.
is sci-fi. I did it. I read them. Why do you care? I read crime fiction. I still read James Patterson. Hey, the Alex Cross series is legit. I'm not gonna lie about that. You know what I mean? But just like I read him, I'm gonna read Gerald's books. I'm gonna read Jay's book. I'm gonna read Amanda's. I'm gonna read other authors. I can balance out my reading. I have enough storage in my brain to read multiple authors.
Mm-hmm.
Our counterparts will not. and
But
when you ask them, but like why? They have no response. This
that
maybe
also
one day
comes from having a legit love for reading and
reading.
fiction, because you have a love for reading, you're open. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have, some people just have. I had a conversation with my oldest son. My oldest son is 24. When he was a teenager, we were having a conversation because I was saying how I love music, and he's like, he loved music too. And I said, but do you really? I said, just because you listen to the same genre of music and you listen to 1,000 songs, that does not make, because if you go through my Pandora, you'd be like, is this the same person?
Mm-hmm.
I have everything from Erica Badu to Cardi. I have Kenny G. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Because
I
Kenny
say
can,
that,
calm that
right.
beast that's ready to go like, "Rawr!"
You feel me? I also, there's some country songs I like. I lived in Alaska for 3 years. I got introduced to
Mm,
pop there. They didn't have an R&B station. So
mm,
I say that to say me, and I remember this conversation because it opened up something in him, and now he truly loves music.
mhm,
Because sometimes I'm looking at him, I'm like, that's a little different, but I respect it because I too love music.
mhm,
So that is the difference between you and these people that you're encountering, because they don't really truly have a love for literature, and they like what they like. So, and
mhm,
because you love literature, you don't get it. That's like me. I'm like, when it comes to music, I'm like, people are like, oh my God, why? If you listen to the lyrics, and like, I'll get wrapped up in it because I have a love for it. The same way you be living all these characters. You go from gardening in the garden to kicking in the door because you're all
Mm-hmm.
into it. So I think that is
mhm,
the main thing. They really truly don't have a love for literature. They just have a love for what is in front of them. And that is
mhm,
a closed-minded thought process. Because even when I wrote, I started writing because you can co-sign this. I have several different genres, and I'm like, when
mhm,
you're a writer, you're right. I'm not putting myself in a box because my personality is too big for a box. Put me in a box, I'm kicking the top in, and then I'm gonna flip it over. Like I'm not that person. But that's because I really truly enjoy writing. I know there was a lot of people who were surprised when I wrote a children's book. I'm like, I have 4 children. You don't think I watch my share of cartoons, and you don't think I be rolling? I roll on the floor. I encourage foolishness. The little one I have, he jumps off everything, and I'm like, oh, okay, good job. Stick the landing. I'm that mom. Like, okay. So, so they were really surprised. Like, you're right. Yes, I wrote a children's book. I'm a big kid. Stop playing. But you cannot be closed-minded in this industry, and there's so many people. And then on the flip side of it, I have some people who are not melanated, who I'm like, oh my God. And I had to stop because I'm like, well, what about this book? Because I'll try to push the calmer ones. I'm like, oh no, I want that one. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't do that no more because I've ran across really truly people who love to read.
Love to read.
And those are the people that I love. I don't like closed-minded because I'm too verbal. I'm too opinionated.
That was the best way to say that. I love it. Yes. Amanda, you remember your first book?
So I come from a slightly different experience because I was very, very, very close to my grandmother, who was my mother's mother. And she was a huge Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, and Zora Neale Hurston fan, Richard Wright. I mean, just Black literature. So by the time I hit high school, I had read all of Toni Morrison's books to date. I had read Their Eyes Were Watching God, Native Son, Black Boy, Langston Hughes. I had my own Langston Hughes anthology book because I loved him. I had memorized We Wear the Mask by County Cullen. I got into a big fight with my aunt, my mom's youngest sister, because she had this book called Black Voices that she was in college. She's only 14 years older than me. And she was in college and she was taking a Black lit class. And I was roughly 10. And I stole the Black Voices book from her that she needed for class when she was home. She went to Norfolk State. She gets back to Norfolk State. I got her book. Sorry.
Oops.
I still have it. It's upstairs. Because my grandmother was like, I'll just wire you. This was back in the day. If I was 10, we're talking about late 80s, early 90s. So she was like, I'll just wire you the money. Go in the bookstore and buy yourself another book because Amanda has this one. I'll have a talk with her about stealing. I still have it. Sorry, Di. That's my aunt. But so by the time I got to high school, I had read all of those books. So I was familiar with Black characters, but those were not books of my generation. Now, when you're asking me about books of my generation, I did not see the first Black person on a contemporary book that was new until Arabesque books came out by BET in 94. I would have been roughly 13-ish in 94.
Yes, because 96 I was 14, so that would have put me a year behind you.
Yes. So when Arabesque came out, I was already stealing my mother's Harlequin romances. I'd already gotten in trouble for it.
I stole mine too. Ooh.
My grandmother was basically like, just let this child live, because she's going to keep stealing them. You're going to keep finding your books with the little folding, piece over, because that's what I did the books back in the day. And my mom be like, did you read this book? The pages are folded, Amanda. Oh, right. Yeah. I read it. So when that came out, my grandmother got me, they had a subscription service to it. And she just got me the subscription service, and I got 2 books every month from Arabesque. And like I said, that was 1994. I was in 8th grade. And after that, that was the beginning. And then there were other books, of course. Everybody's got Zane. I've got like a gajillion Zanes.
She ain't had to put me out there. I'm sorry. She didn't have to put me out there like that.
You out there reading the Blaze ones?
Ooh, child. Took that book to 7th grade math class. What was I thinking?
Imagine me sitting up in a North Carolina, rural North Carolina. The only thing in Jacksonville, North Carolina is the military base. Okay, at the time. It's bigger now. Imagine me sitting out in the county school reading an Arabesque book. Come on, son. They were like, what is that? And I was like, some book that I'm reading. And my teacher was like, oh, let me see the...
No.
Because you know, those covers were steamy. It's like...
No, I can't with you.
So not only is this, this 8th grader sitting here with this book of this woman in ecstasy, but it's a Black woman. Like, what's happening? What's happening here? So that was the beginning. And then I got into B.B. Moore Campbell. One of my favorite books is What You Owe Me. And stuff like that. But I would have to say my contemporary books there, I wasn't reading things from the Harlem Renaissance. That was the beginning, Arabesque.
Oh my God. So, Amanda, I think you and I are probably going to be the 2 that are closest in age. Remember when Arabesque took the books that they wrote or had the authors write and turned them into Saturday night movies?
Listen.
Oh my God.
Yes. Listen. I stopped going to the skating rink so I could go watch Arabesque on BET.
8 o'clock every Saturday.
Saturday night.
I switched going skating from Saturday to Friday so I could watch it because I had to go read the book.
Listen.
So I could make sure the movie stuck to the book. That's how much of a nerd I was. Yeah,
listen.
For
Listen,
sure.
My mama, the first time she caught me watching them, she came in because I had this little, what was a little TV, but it was one of them TVs that had the tape player in it too, right? And she came in, she was like, what you watching? And I was like, BET. And she was like, what you watching on BET? Wait, Amanda. I said, what happened? What happened? Can I talk to you on the commercial?
That's before we could fast forward and rewind on the commercial.
You over here, I'm trying to see what's about to happen, and you over here talking to me, man. Go on somewhere.
We was rebels. Yes.
It is.
That's one thing I must say. I'm so disappointed that BET stopped Arabesque books because, baby.
Well, what they didn't stop it. They sold it.
Same thing.
BET sold Arabesque and the imprint that came under Arabesque, which was Kimani, to Harlequin. Harlequin got rid of Arabesque and kept Kimani, and Kimani is still a subprint on Harlequin now these days.
Yes. Little information if you guys didn't know about that. That just showed me and Amanda's age. That's great. It's okay.
Brooke asked me the other day what was a tape. She was like, this. I know the little music ones. Was this like to hold a lot of music? I said, please just. Well, it's hard to be 40 with an 8-year-old. She asked me if my childhood was in black and white.
Well, I'm 39 with an 8-year-old. I'll be 40 this year, and
it's very disrespectful.
Very disrespectful. And my kids saw a record player and a set of records in the basement of my parents' house, and they were like, "This is a very big CD." Ooh.
I'm glad that your kids knew what a CD was. Brooke got into my CDs and said, "Flying discs." I was like,
"Oh." Only Michaela. So my oldest, but she's in the middle, is 19. She knew what a CD was. AJ definitely thought it was a Frisbee.
As did Brooke.
I was like, it's not a frisbee.
I was
Please
like,
don't throw
well.
Pop Pop's Temptation album like a frisbee. You will die, and I can't save you. I don't understand.
Brooke only knows what albums and a record player are because I have one that I actively use. But when it came in, she was like, "What's this thing?" And she started flipping the like. I said, "Oh my God, that is an original Cooley High album, and I will put you out in the backyard if you do not put it down right now."
The level of disrespect with these 8-year-olds, I don't like them. But anyway, we're gonna go over to Domi. You remember your? So we don't talk about killing our kids, and it's on recording, and then we go
because we don't talk about Bruno.
Right. Oh, please. I just dismissed the kid from singing that while I was on mute. But I think for me, so my educational experience was different than most kids. I lived in Best Side, Brooklyn, but I went to school in Clinton Hills, which is like an upper class, rich area in New York City. And I would have to take a train and then a bus to go to school. And I remember I used to always ask my mom, like, it's a school literally right on the corner, and my sister went there. Why can't I go there? And she's like, you don't want to know why you can't go there. But I had the beauty of having African-American teachers, which made a difference in my educational experience. My principal for the first couple of years in elementary school was an African-American woman with a doctorate. And that was like so inspiring to me. And I remember I used to just like go to her office just to hang out, just because I was so inspired by her. And I remember I was in the 6th grade, and one day my teacher was absent, but in my elementary school, like all of my teachers were like close friends, and we got to be, you know how they will split you up and put you in classes. So we always wanted to go to our teacher's best friend class. And that day she was actually introducing her 6th graders to The Skin I'm In by Sharon Flake. And she was like giving them an overview of the importance of the story, her why for wanting them to read that. And then I was just like, can I read it too? And she was like, of course. So she gave us some extra books, and that was the first time that I read a book and I couldn't stop reading. And I was just like, oh. And I remember the next day I was like begging to go to her class, and my teacher was like, what she did with y'all yesterday that you want to go over there so bad? And I was like, she showed us this book. And she was like, okay. But I went to her class for ELA that day, and I was just raising my hand, answering the questions, asking her questions. And she was like, you must really like this book. And I was like, yeah, I do. And she was like, what inspires you? I was like, it's a Black girl on the cover. And I remember saying that, like, I didn't care about the words. The book was great. I love the book. Still to this day, I love it. We have our middle schoolers in our enrichment program. That was the first book that they read when they signed up in August. But I just remember telling her, like, it's a Black girl on the cover. Like, that's huge for me. All the books that I was introduced to in elementary school was Langston Hughes, Countee Cullen. But they were like introduced in art class. My art teacher was an African-American teacher, and she was the only one like really exposing us to Black literature or just Black people overall. Even though my teachers were African-American, they were still following what the district told them to teach us. So I was just excited to just see that book. And I love all of Sharon Flake's books. Even as an adult, I still sometimes just pick them up and read them just for fun. But that was my first time like actually seeing a Black girl on the cover of a book.
I love it. I so hope for those that are listening, that are sharing, really can hear, because I totally can really hear the passion behind your work, your own personal works, and then the excitement and that joy that you felt reading your first Black novel, coming across, your first Black book. I really want our youth of today to have that same feeling. And that was one of the reasons behind creating Legacy BookBar, and especially focusing on self-published authors, was to give them that voice. And for people out there like myself, that it was very hard to find your books in places like Barnes and Nobles. and then to come across and be like, oh, it's a Black author. Now, one of the great things, I know people tend to not like him because he just has overdone it with Medea. So they say, not my choice. I always say, make your money, honey. I don't care how you do it as long as it's legal. Do you? But one of the things he said when he created his movie studio was, I got tired of not being included or not being asked to the table. So I decided to create my own studio. And now he has one of the biggest studios out here today. And, am I as big as Barnes and Noble? Not yet. We'll be there shortly. We're going to get there. But, even if it just stays small and intimate, it's for us. It's for others like yourselves to go into a bookstore and come across and have that same joy for reading, or just to discover how amazing it is to dive into a storybook and just come alive with the story. I really hope that this podcast, this episode tonight, really lets people know what's out here. For those that are listening, of course, we're going to put all of your links into the chat, into the comment section a little bit later. But I want you guys to go around the room with me and let everyone know where they can find you on social media. Jay.
All right. So first off, this was so much fun. Thank you again for having me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I try to keep everything simple, and it's all author J. Asmara. Like she said, she'll put it in the comments for the spelling. I also have my website, www.authorjasmara.com. Like I said, I try to keep everything simple. And yes, I hope to. Let me say this. I love to talk to my readers. Do not hesitate to inbox me. I will talk books all day long. Just don't come disrespectful, because my block game is strong. Otherwise, we can talk about books all day. I'm very approachable. I love feedback. So I hope to hear from a lot of you all. I do have a new book coming out. So if you reach out to me on social media, you'll see about that. And I'm also on Amazon. But like I said, social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or my website are the best ways to reach me.
Absolutely. And of course, as you know, Amanda, Jay, and Gerald's book are it's scrolling on the bottom of the screen at www.legacybookbar.com. Books. And if you get them starting, I don't remember the date. I'm so bad with that. I want to say it starts today. It might start tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure. But get your carts ready, because it's 25% off their children's books. So just get ready for that, okay? Gerald, where can they find you on social media?
Facebook, Arthur Gerald D. Johnson. Instagram at Gerald Dramedy. And on Twitter, I had to restart it at Gerald_DeAndre. Okay. So those are the 3 platforms you can find me at.
Okay, Amanda.
So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Amanda Chambers Says. On Twitter, which is disrespectful with their character count, you can find me at A Chambers Says. And right now, the domain for my website is amandamchambers.com. You can still use that to get to my website, but after tomorrow, it will be amandachamberssays.com to just have everything be the same. But we are also keeping the Amanda M. Chambers, since I've been using it for so long, to reroute, and it'll just take you right to the website.
Absolutely. And for any authors that are wanting to get published, if they wanted to go the self-published route, how can they find you?
DivineLegacyPublishing.com. I had dedicated my life to making sure that Black voice is heard authentically, and through self-publishing, so that you keep control of your work and your coins, because that is important. And on Instagram, Facebook, you can find us at Divine Legacy Publishing, and on Twitter, which again is disrespectful, you will find us at Divine Legacy Pub.
Gotcha. And actually, you and I have something coming up, and since I have you, we might as well talk about it briefly. So what are we doing, ma'am? Let's talk
We
about
are doing a writing workshop. So in addition to all the other genres that I have mentioned, I also wrote a book called Plotting and Planning. Don't put no G's at the end of those words, please. It's Plotting and Planning. And it is Plotting and Planning. And what it is it's a kind of a one-stop shop for plotting and planning out your book. Not only the inside of your book, which, you know, your characters, your settings, your plot points, and your chapters and all of that, but also, you know, are you going to have a release party? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? It's a workbook. It has space in there for 5 different books to be plotted out and contained in there. And so I am going to be discussing, you know, just the basics of plotting out your book. The one thing that breaks my heart that I see, and I've seen a lot of it, is a really great concept for a book, an amazing concept, but it's not developed out all the way. You know, what do these characters look like? What do, you know, what are their feelings? What are their nervous tics? What does this setting look like? You know, even if it's something intergalactic, that's not a word that I apparently can.
Intergalactical. I'm with you. This is why she has me. I was with it. I knew what you were going with.
That word was not coming out. You hear me? He got stuck right here and was like holding on like no. So, but you know, what does that look like? What does that planet look like? You know, what do these things look like? Because it's so disheartening to see the reviews that you'll see on Amazon that will say, you know, oh, you know, I wish I could have liked this book, but it didn't give me enough. But it's there. You just got to know. You got to understand. And some people just have a story. And I've always said there are a lot of different people in this world. There are people who are amazing storytellers, but they're not great writers. There are great writers that can't tell a story to save their lives. And then there are those that are blessed to be in between, you know, and so if you can't write, it's okay. There are ghost writers, there are plotting books, there are writing coaches. You can get your story out, but don't be ashamed to use those resources. So that's what I wanted to create, a resource. So and we'll be doing a writing workshop based on it.
Yes. So we're going to do, do you remember the date?
Right. April.
So it's going to be.
I think it's April 4th.
No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know.
Okay, April 9th.
We're going to be sharing
the beginning of April, before double digits. It's not double digits. I know that.
It's okay. You're right. It's not double digits. It's before Easter and it's not double digits. So somewhere in there, Legacy BookBar will be hosting the writing workshop, and then Amanda will be, of course, facilitating the workshop. So if you yourself or you know someone that is interested and wants to get their story out, just needs a little bit of help, this is definitely the workshop. It is cost affordable. You'll be able to get the facilitator, and of course you will actually get the plotting and planning book as well to have before the workshop, so you'll be ready to go with the class. I think it's really great. Yes, ma'am.
Is it going to be virtual?
Yes, because it's COVID outside.
Yeah, I ain't fooling with COVID. They talking about taking mask mandates away. I'm gonna mandate myself right in his house.
So for those that sign up, it is virtual. And like I said, the minute you sign up and you pay for the course, you will then receive your workbook for the class. So again, tell all your author friends, sign up for yourself. This is definitely a workshop that you are going to want to participate. And also one of the services with DLP is writing coaching, is editing, all that stuff that you would need to get your book out. DLP has those resources. So you're going to want to make sure that you are part of that class so you can get information on those resources. I'm saving my boo thing for last. Dummy, where can we find you, my love?
So we are on every social media platform there is, as Burbella LLC. Just type it in. Our website, however, is burbella.com. You can find more about our Learning Academy there, more about my direct services that I offer as a CEO. I do consultations with homeschooling families. On the side, I also coach and educate teachers on how to start their own education-based business. So if you are looking to transition out of the education field, you don't want to teach anymore, you're tired of the classroom, you want to turn your expertise into an actual entrepreneurship journey, or you want to turn it into an actual career, I also provide coaching through that. That is, there's a Facebook group on Facebook called Entrepreneur Educators. Just type it in, it will pop up. We have tons of educators in the group who are actually getting support and coaching. There is alignment with Burbella in that, because I use my day-to-day duties in Burbella to kind of show them how it's actually going, how I actually make money, how I do recruitment, how to run a whole entire preschool virtually. People are like, how do you get kids that age to sit still? Easily. You engage them, you make it fun, you let them play. So all of those things I support them and coach them with. We also offer free trials to any family that is interested in joining our Learning Academy. You can come on and sit in one of our classes with your child to actually see how the classes are ran. In addition to that, we do offer tuition assistance. Because we are a for-profit business, we wanted to provide something for families to be able to still get their kids in with us if they can't afford it. So we do fundraisers for our families and so many other things to actually help you pay for your enrichment class tuition.
Awesome. All of this information, of course.
It's a great program, I promise.
Yeah. Amanda's daughter goes to that.
Attends, and she is engaged. She just finished her Black History Month project.
Oh yes, please. Can I share that? So on Monday, we are having our Black History show. Our babies have worked so hard on this show. On top of that, we have an author who's actually going to be there presenting and doing the activity. She has a book called I Am Black History from A to Z. And I actually want to connect her with you so you can get her book on the Legacy BookBar. She's definitely interested. But she's going to be there talking about her book and doing the presentations. We're going to be playing some games, doing some giveaways. There's going to be family Black history activities. It's a huge program. I'm so excited about it. And it's free. It's free to everybody. The link is on our website. So please come out, support our babies, show your face or keep your camera off. But it'll be great for everyone to just come out and support and see what we do.
Absolutely. So again, Domi, make sure I'll find it on your page, and I'll make sure that I share it to the Legacy page so it can go with tonight's broadcast. And then of course everyone's going to send me their personal links, and then I will make sure that I have it in the comment section for tonight's broadcast. Only because I've already kind of individually have interviewed you guys, and Jay's interview is coming up a little bit later. I am not going to end with the signature question today, because Jay is actually going to get her signature question at her individual episode. So I'm actually going to save that question. Amanda and Jay and Gerald, you kind of already know what that is. So I'm going to say, you know, how I get everybody with that one. I am actually going to save that for later. And then Domi's information will be one of the latest affiliates that will be uploaded to Legacy BookBar's website. So if you're ever looking for additional resources when it comes to tutoring and reading and further education, if you're on the website, you'll be able to go to burbella.com and get that information. And then if you're an aspiring author and you're looking for additional resources, DLP's information is also under the affiliate program, affiliate page as well. And then, of course, like I've stated, everyone's book is where? www.legacybookbar.com. So you'll be able to get everyone's book there. And then, like I said, starting either today, tomorrow, because God, I can't remember dates. 25% off of their children's, tweens, and teens books are will be there, and it'll be there for 7 days. So you're going to want to make sure that you utilize those sales. And then at the same time, if you want to subscribe to The Legacy Continues for our babies, you can actually sign up for 1 month, a 1 month to a year subscription, and your child or children can get up to 3 books a month from one of these fabulous authors that was on our panel tonight. You guys were absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. Tonight was great. Again, don't forget to share this broadcast. Be back here next week as we host another episode of Legacy Book Bar Sip and Chat. You guys stay safe. It's still COVID outside. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next week right here, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for another episode of the Sip and Chat. Bye, guys.
Bye.